Hello everyone on the internet and thanks for tuning in. I'm RyuKiva of RyuKiva Toku. There are no products to unbox or analyse, nor is there a brother at my side on the split screen. It's just me, my camera phone and my list. Welcome to my tokusatsu chart rundown 2020. My charts took days to compile. I look at each series on their merits and flaws alone before having each one face off with other series in its franchise to give them a score. The league tables had their positions based on points alone, and I would either bump them up or bring them down based on how I actually felt they should go on my own personalised chart. Everything in these charts are spoiler free. I will summarise a rundown for each series in ascending order, outlining for each my thoughts overall, various comparisons before stating its score and recommendations. Let me know what you think. Where does your favourite Power Rangers series appear on my list? As someone who has watched every episode of Power Rangers, this is part 1 of my list. Here I'll be talking about those that are ranked in my bottom 13. Let's begin. In at number 26, Operation Overdrive. Oh dear. I simply felt this series was awful. I mean, I really hate the fact that doing this list bottom to top, I got to start so negatively, but I have very little positive to say about this series. I mean, alright, the crossover episode was great, the OP was great, I mean, the design of the Fear Cats was great, and I've got to give them points for their originality, but let's see. I mean, the Fear Cats, again, that's Sentai design, OP, yeah, alright, not everybody liked that. The crossover episode, this just shows that, you know, Adam Park kicking butt just shows how bad the rest of the series was, let alone the fans saying, oh well, these Power Rangers gave up, when the Power Ranger ethos is to never give up. I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't spot that, but plenty of things I did spot, like the flaws in Pink Ranger's storyline, the garbage that was Red storyline. I did not find the Butler funny at all. Every other word that came out of every actor's mouth was BS. I mean, this isn't a dig at the actor's acting ability. I mean, to be fair, the Pink Ranger and Black Ranger were both British, so I would be very cautious criticising them myself. But even when it comes to the Black Ranger, I mean, you know, race is always a strong theme amongst the fans for the series. But for me, making the Black Ranger a thief is very stereotypical. And I'm sure that's quite racial, the fact that I've brought that up in the first place. I mean, the fact is, when it comes to, like, moving on, when it comes to Taizon's storyline, didn't feel it at all. The comedy was garbage. I mean, aside from the Butler that I mentioned, trying to be clever, but I did not find him remotely funny. The Yeti thing, even though voiced by our favourite Power Ranger veteran actor, I did not like that character at all. I mean, yeah, give it props for the originality. I mean, the Mr. Frost guy was pretty cool looking, I guess. But still, I did not like it all. I mean, in comparison to Super Sentai, Bokenja a billion times better. I would not recommend Operation Overdrive to anybody, full stop. Unless you're a completionist or you really want to see how bad this series is. You know, I don't care if you're into Indiana Jones. Don't bother looking up this series at all. I scored this a fat 0.
Back to action!
All the other series in my list beat this series. In at number 25, Super Ninja Steel. So, Super Ninja Steel was general garbage in my opinion. I mean, there were some improvements from the regular Ninja Steel series. And, you know, like, I have separated regular seasons from their super seasons just because of the titles. But, you know, I will say, yeah, Pink was still hot. The anniversary episode wasn't all that. But, you know, the fact that they had to do a Dino Charge crossover just showed that they really needed to rely on the good villains from Dino Charge to try and recoup this series, I guess. I mean, you know, I like the brother spin in this series, and Odious was actually a good character, but the one thing that Ninja and Super Ninja Steel have in common for me is this whole thing about the Sun character. I mean, it was kind of clever the way that they were duped, but again, it was just a typical defeat as per. I did not feel the super armor in this. Monty and Victor, I don't care what their final plot twist was, still were garbage characters. Ninja at least was, for me, enjoyable, whereas Super Ninja Steel was less enjoyable in my opinion. And, you know, I'm going to go into Ninja Steel in a second, but You know, Super Ninja Steel just wasn't even feeling White and Yellow's love story either. I did score this one 2 points.
Back to action.
Didn't draw at all. So with number 24, I mean, okay, number 24 is the regular Ninja Steel season. Yeah, I mean, you know, they did actually lay down the good foundation on it, so I did like the origin story, but I did feel it kind of flopped afterwards, and, you know, into Super Ninja Steel, it just flopped even more. I mean, you know, so I liked the origin story of the heroes, I'll be specific on that one. But in the final arc, you know, like, it was quite a decent ending, but then, of course, they had to extend for Super Ninja Steel. But I'll still say, like, I felt the whole thing with the 3 reds at the end, you know, Ninja did it a billion times better. Monty and Victor were just as irritating here as they were in Super Ninja Steel. And, you know, things like Unreal technology from Pink Ranger, bearing in mind, Ninja, Momo Ninja was a scientist-ish, or science hobby thing. They tried doing that with the Pink Ranger with a quirky mother, but I was not feeling it at all. And, you know, I can give props to anyone who's like, well, Billy was flying around in a beetle in Mighty Morphin, but no, I'm just like, no, I'm not feeling the Unreal technology here. And if I remember correctly, the princess with the Lion Zord was specifically in this season. Didn't feel that either. But, you know, like, props to the brother story still, which again was an ongoing thing. Again, in comparison to Ninja was better. I mean, I don't know about any other kind of sort of, if anyone's into anything else kind of thing. I mean, it's just, again, it's not the greatest series, Ninja Steel. I mean, I scored it 4 points with 1 draw point, and that was on it. Coming in at number 23 is Dino Thunder. Now, this is a massive fan favourite, but I am not a fan of this series at all. I mean, there was some positives to it, though. So I did find it quite a slick looking series, and, you know, they played on nostalgia quite well, admittedly. Like the lead up to the anniversary to the 500th was really good. Yeah, and the reveal for Black Ranger, really good. I mean, it had like some good story. Like, I did like the villains in this. Mesogog, pretty amazing design. But then it's like, you know, it's all a real heaviness on JDF and nostalgia. So, you know, like, I kind of felt the fact, I mean, it probably could have been a decent, better series if JDF had, like, stuck to the whole series. Instead, they had him at the beginning, they had him at the end, and in the middle, they just had him stuck in a suit, which it's clear that in real life he committed to his family, fair enough, but for this series, I did not buy the fact that he was stuck in his suit. When it comes to the cast, I absolutely love Trent Mercer. I loved his storyline. Connor, meh. But when it came to Ethan and Kira, I was really irritated by both of them. I gave Power Rangers Dino Thunder, I gave 6 points, and it drew twice. In at number 22, I mean, even though I rated Dino Thunder at 23, in at number 22 is Megaforce. So, why did I give Megaforce that bump up? I mean, I'll say there was a good premise to it. Yes, Yellow Ranger was hot. I mean, I had I was kind of rooting for our Black Ranger. I can't even remember his name, but I remember rooting for him. That's what was important, right? But I will still say the robot thing was garbage. I mean, anyone who's seen Short Circuit will remember Johnny Number 5. Anyone who's seen Mighty Morphin will remember Alpha 5, but they are not the same character. And too much of a rip with Gosei being a student of Zordon. It's like, yeah, alright, mate, done here. But is it better than Goseiger? Potentially. I wouldn't rule it out. But the thing is, like, I'd say they were both blandish series, and even though I bumped this one right up, it did only score 1 point.
Back to action.
And didn't draw with anyone at all. In at number 21, the In Space series. I will say they're, again, another fan favourite that I've berated. That ending did upset me. There's that. But it had, even though I rank it so low, I did like the Andros and Corone storyline. Dark Spectre was a good design, but I'm pretty sure that was a Car Ranger or Mega Ranger villain. I mean, the Zane storyline was pretty decent as well, to give it that. But, you know, I don't think this series lived up to that Turbo continuity that was going on throughout Turbo. That's just my honest feeling. The Turtles crossover was nuts. Not really much I can say apart from it was nuts. In Space did score a decent 8 points though, with 2 draw points. But again, when you've got a series a franchise that's kind of dying on itself, what do? Yeah, you send the characters into space, which admittedly saved the series. So in at number 20 though, something that didn't quite save the series is Super Mega Force. Now this is one that is really panned by the fans, and it has just about made it into my top 20. I mean, why? I mean, I will cut them some slack. I mean, you know, bear in mind, I did not cut the previous 6 any slack, 5 or 6 any slack. I will cut Super Mega Force some slack. I mean, why? Because I felt it did its best. You know, like, you've got Noah, the Blue Ranger, who kind of went from being a nerd to, oh, I've got to try fighting with swords, just because Gokai Blue was a sword fighter. I will say it, you know, like, again, when you're basing the Sentai footage on something that was Showa and Heisei era, and Power Rangers only started, like, maybe a few years into Heisei, they had a challenge on their hands. And, you know, Saban being Saban, they were really tight on their budget. So, you know, I can cut that some slack, but really, you know, like any fan that's panned it, they should have done a lot better. And, you know, the fact that the anniversary episodes were JDF heavy again, that, you know, like, again, it was a bit mishmash. And, you know, like, considering it's supposed to be an anniversary series, again, with a lot of the legal technicalities, yeah, I mean, they did kind of poo-poo all over the Disney era. And, you know, it was quite unfortunate, but what are you going to do? I did score Super Mega Force 10 points, and it didn't deal with anyone at all. In at number 19 is Dino Supercharge. Now, Dino Charge is going to be a lot higher on my list, I'll give you guys that much. But for me, like, Dino Supercharge, there was not that much different from Dino Charge. Still pretty good series. I loved Jekyll and Snide's storyline. All the fans who know Kyoryuja know they could have done so much more with Jekyll and Snide, but they didn't. Everyone also loved the fact that they brought Torrin in as Zeno Wing. I didn't feel it. And the one thing that I will criticise both seasons for is I was not hot on Keeper. Keeper's personality was great. Why did he have to look like E.T. though? I will say as well, especially in comparison to Dino Charge, the one thing I felt about Supercharge is very bad sloppy editing. And, you know, that ending, I don't care how many universes the Power Rangers universe has, that is not how you give a decent series an alternative universe. And they have obviously come up with problems since. I gave Dino Supercharge 9 points with 2 draw points on it. In at number 18, Samurai. So the reason it scored highly against Dino Supercharge is I actually thought this series had some decent MA in it. I will also say that there were, even though there was a lot of Sentai copying, which is how it got so high, but at least, you know, even though, like, the previous ones lower in my list, you know, like, it were more fantasy based, at least here, I could say if you do like some decent martial arts, then this is a good series to watch. You know, I did like the Red Ranger in this, Jaden. He wasn't, like, the most prominent red, but he was a decent red. And Gold Ranger was really cool. I did like him. I mean, Pink and Yellow Rangers were hot. And, you know, Green Ranger storyline with, yeah, the love triangle with, not love triangle, just the general love story with Yellow Ranger was still pretty, you know, I kind of believed in them. But the one thing I will say is that compared to Shinkenger, I mean, Shinken Green was a very strong character. So Samurai Green had a lot to live up to, but, you know, he did his best. I just felt Shinken Green was a little better. When it comes to both Blue Rangers, I didn't like either Blue Ranger, but I felt the one in Samurai was a bit more crap. I don't know why. And, you know, even though I say Pink and Yellow are hot, I still felt that Pink Ranger was garbage and compared to Shinken Pink. The one thing, you know, just to round off Samurai is, you know, this is the beginning of the Neo Saban era, and it set a very bad precedent where they tried to bring back the whole Bulk and Skull vibe. Here they did Bulk and Spike. But the thing about the Neo Saban era to me is that it just came off very Nickelodeon. I gave Samurai 5 points with one draw point. So that did get bumped up quite a bit. In at number 17, Turbo. So I will talk about the movie first. I think it had a bit of a mixed reaction. Was obviously lower budget, brought in less money. But I did feel that there was some good cinematics in it. I love the fact that they brought back Jason and Kimberly. But again, that's a play on nostalgia. But I will still say I think JDF is garbage. And, you know, so now going into the series, yes, JDF was garbage. I mean, not necessarily his acting skills, but when it came to Tommy, he suddenly decided he was into cars. And he hasn't been into cars since. And yeah, this is obviously to fit in with the Car Ranger thing. But I will still say, you know, they could have done so much better with it. But I will still say Diva Tox was actually a good villain. Heavily based on Zornet. But you've got this thing that they did called the Passover, where they passed over their powers. I actually liked TJ. I thought Justin kicked butt. When it came to Carlos and Ashley, I'm like, but Cassie, I did not like this character at all. I'm not sure if it's the actress or the character, but to me, they just came off as a bit obnoxious and pretentious. And this really bizarre Shadow Ranger love story, I thought was absolute garbage. When it comes to Shadow Ranger, RV Master was the man, and Shadow Ranger, they were deliberately vague. I mean, fan theories are he was Billy. Maybe we'll find out one day. I will still say I scored Turbo 8 points and nobody. In at number 16 is Wild Force. And I will say this was a good, enjoyable series to watch. But when I look back at it, it was just a bunch of stuff that happened. Not sure how I felt about the Blue Ranger. I think I did not cut him any slack. I mean, maybe I could have done, but you know, I mean, especially in comparison to Sentai, I thought the characters were definitely better in this. So I did like Black Ranger. I did like the story behind Red Ranger, but White Ranger I did not like at all. Silver Ranger had an amazing story. I think that was quite heavily based on the Sentai, to be fair, but the Mentor was garbage. But then again, so was the one from Gao Ranger, in my opinion. The villains were a bit garbage too, and again, that was heavily based on the Sentai, so I will cut them some slack. But I'm not too sure what was going on with Silver Ranger and the Mentor here. So I will say Wild Force is probably better than Gao Ranger, in my opinion. But they really could have done something a lot more original with Wild Force. I scored Wild Force 7 points, but it did draw a lot, 5 points. In at number 15. Now, I felt very mixed about this one. Mystic Force. So I'm not too sure about the humour that they did in this series. I mean, yes, we've got our veteran voice actor back for this one. Compared to Magi Ranger, that was very strong on the whole courage thing from the off. They kind of very dropped it in, you know, sprinkled it in a bit, the whole courage thing. I felt, even though Magi Ranger was getting off the Harry Potter popularity, this one really hammered it a bit too much with the Harry Potter stuff. I will still say there was some generally good messaging in it, but it is always about John Tui, our what was he, Gold Ranger or Lamp Ranger? I can't even remember, but he was billion times better than Magi Shine, straight up. Korag loved his story, but of course, if anyone knows anything about Mystic Force, it's all about Plan Xander. But I'll say I felt this was a little bit whitewashed, even though Nick was not white, I guess. Or was he? I'm not too sure. I mean, the random family dynamic, Leonbo and stuff, I thought was a bit garbage. But then you had the two sisters. I mean, bearing in mind, Magi Ranger was a complete family series. I will still say Magiranger was better though. And just because someone's into Harry Potter doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be into Mystic Force. I don't know who to recommend Mystic Force to, but not even those who are into fantasy. I mean, they're a better fantasy series in the Power Rangers franchise. However, it was still an enjoyable series nonetheless. Again, a lot of Magiranger rip, especially in terms of villain structure and octopus thing. I gave Mystic Force 13 points with only one draw point. In at number 14 though is Zeo. Were they stronger than before? Well, I guess it was a much softer series with a very riddly mentor. I can't remember her name. I will still say I liked Tanya's character. Tanya was the genuine tryhard. You could at least see her trying to learn how to fight. So props to both the actress and the character on that one. Obviously, they're playing on nostalgia when they bring back Jason, because Tommy can't hold it down. The mechas, of course, they're based on the Sentai. Do I think Zeo's better than O-Ranger? No, I don't. I will say it was a weak story with goofy villains, but that is on the Sentai, to be fair. But I don't like the way that they wrote off Billy. I mean, why? Why do him like that? They could have done so much better, but maybe if they'd treated the actor a little better, he might have hung around a bit more. When it comes to Zeo, though, I scored it 12 points with 3 draw points. So that is all for the bottom of my Power Ranger list. Tune in next time for my top 13. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please follow, like and subscribe to this channel. Support me on Patreon as well as on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at RyuKiva Toku. My blog and fan sub page is at ryukivatoku.wordpress.com. Links are in the description. SH figure arts are not for children, suitable for ages 14+. See you next time.